I'm in my big moves era. So, have you ever heard the term soft girl CEO era? Sometimes there's these memes and things that go across, whether it's TikTok or Instagram, where we just get these new colloquialisms that really describe like a rich girl aesthetic or soft girl CEO era. Well, I'm bringing you the new one. It's called I'm in my big moves era. And I actually have a really cool story behind this that I shared in Instagram and the reason behind why I've switched into my big moves era. And someone was like, you should record a podcast about that. And I was like, you know what? I should, because it is a phenomenon. And I'm curious, are you in your big moves era right now? So what does this actually mean? Here is the origin story. So a few weeks ago, I was meant to go to a conference that was in Florida. So if y'all remember, there's been so many hurricanes going around right now. And for anyone who has been affected, I hope that, you are just getting the support and things are getting cleaned up. And just, oh my gosh, my heart goes out to everyone who has been affected by the hurricanes. But I was meant to be in Florida during the hurricane that was about to hit Tampa. And so a conference that I was attending had to get canceled and then postponed. And so all of a sudden, we didn't know for a while when that postponement was going to happen. So I found myself in this waiting period, in this waiting time, because I was seriously like having no idea, like, can I plan things on my schedule? Like even my calls with clients and calls with, the groups that I run, like I didn't know if I could put them together or not. And I also found myself like not making moves around travel. I wasn't sure if I could, travel here. I was supposed to go on a trip with my parents and I wasn't sure if that would need to be canceled now because maybe the conference was going to be at that date or something. And then there's so many other things that I was waiting on. Like I really felt this need to get more support. And I wanted to really start getting more invested into another business mastermind or a business coach. But I also felt like without knowing what was going on, that I couldn't make any moves. So basically I found myself in this waiting period and it sucked. Oh my gosh, it sucked. I have been someone who's been making big moves in my business and in life for kind of as a while as a principle of how I just am now. And I used to not be that way. I used to be in the waiting game forever when I was back in my cubicle and back drinking and back even as an early entrepreneur. I remember how much I played in that waiting game for a long time. And what does the waiting game look like? It looks like you want something, but you don't move forward with it, right? You're like waiting for something, you're putting off a decision, and that feeling sucks. Like either make a decision one way or the other way, because waiting around when you want something or you want to move forward with an initiative or a project or a new development in your business or a new program in your business, you want to move forward, but for some reason you're stuck, you're not taking action, you're not moving forward, you actually feel powerless. And I wonder as I say this and I share this, I was so brought back to those feelings in that waiting era where I just felt like I couldn't make any decisions about my life. I know I'm being a little hyperbolic and dramatic, but honestly, in that moment, it was like, oh my God, I can't make any decisions. I can't move forward with this. I can't move forward with that. I don't know what I'm doing. And it just is, the feeling sucks, right? That waiting game truly does suck. And I wonder as I share this, like, is there anything in your life that feels like that right now? Is there anything that you feel like you're playing the waiting game on where you want something, or you want to move forward with something, but for some reason you're not? But you also haven't completely denied it for yourself. Like you're not like, nope, for sure not. We're just crossing that off the list. It's like in the limbo, right? It's the limbo that sucks. It's the purgatory that doesn't make us feel good. And so I think that it's important to talk about this because in so many areas in our life, whether we're trying to make decisions about, really committing to an alcohol-free lifestyle, for example, or we're trying to make a decision, do I really want to be a coach, for example, or we're trying to make a decision, do I really want to take my business to the next level, for example, we often get stuck in that waiting pattern. And I know how uncomfortable it feels. I know how powerless it makes you feel. I know how hopeless it makes you feel. And I know that that's where we really lose steam. That's where we truly, truly lose our steam. And so what ended up happening, obviously, I finally got clarity. I finally was able to, figure out when this new conference was going to be held for Florida. And that lit a fire underneath me. I was ready to start making big moves again. And basically, like whether I think it was about 8 or 9 or even maybe 10 things that I was postponing decisions on, I made them like that. And I stepped into my big moves era. I bought plane tickets to Mexico so that I could finally say yes to this family trip that I've been wanting to go on with my parents. So my dad just turned 80 years old. My mother is 78. I recognize that, quality time with them is one of the most precious things I have. And sometimes our schedules don't align because they travel when we're busy or vice versa. And I just really, really wanted to be able to take this trip with my parents to Mexico. And so I was holding off on it because I just wasn't sure if the dates would work out. And the second I figured it out, I was like, tickets bought to Mexico, dog sitter hired, let's go, right? And then the next big move I made was really wanting to try to figure out some of my travel plans that were coming up next. And again, I was in this really big indecision. Like I really wanted to go to Thailand, but maybe this Brazil thing was happening, but maybe I'm not going to go anywhere. And then finally I was like, F it, let's do this, right? And so I made the decision to go on a retreat to Brazil. It's this business retreat I am so excited for. And obviously it was a really big decision, but I've been wanting to go for Brazil for so long now, and to make it, work out with a beautiful business retreat and a beautiful, incredible mentor that I get to really meet in person and have this beautiful experience with, like, it was just a hell yes. And the thing is, when something's a hell yes, but we fail to take action on it, we lose steam, we start to feel weird about it, we start to feel guilty about it. It just doesn't feel good. And that's why, like, they say leaders make decisions quickly. They say leaders make decisions quickly in the sense that they follow their gut instincts. They follow their intuition, because the hemming and the hawing, if you're stuck in the hemming and the hawing in any area of your life, you are going to relate to this. You know what I'm talking about. It doesn't feel good, right? It makes you feel so stuck and like you can't move forward until you have perfect clarity, right? And so that was booked and done. Big moves done. The next thing I really wanted to do was get some support in my business. Now, I'm always getting support through some kind of mentorship opportunity, because I really do believe leaders always need mentors too. I don't know how to get to the next level in my life. I don't know how to get to the next level in my business. I have so many things that I'm always working through. I'm always a work in progress, right? And I knew I really wanted to step into my next container around that. And I was kind of playing around with where I'm going to go, who I'm going to choose, what I'm going to do. I made a decision. I joined an incredible business mastermind, and then I also hired an incredible business coach. I'm just so floored at that. It was a lot of big moves at once, right? And a lot of some of those original fears come up, like, oh my gosh, can I really handle all of this? Is this really all going to serve me? Is this going to be too overwhelming? But the momentum and excitement I felt to actually finally be 100% committed into the things I say I want feels so much better than dealing with and navigating the fear of, oh my gosh, is this too much, or am I overcommitting or whatnot? I feel on fire, right? And the big moves that we make in our lives have the power to do that for us, because it's like the decision and the commitment is so much bigger than us. It's so much bigger than our hemming and hawing. It's so much bigger than, feeling in that indecision. And I think that indecision is ultimately paralysis, and it's kind of a form of perfectionism. Now, in my case, I was waiting for 100% complete clarity in my life before I could move forward with some of these things. The thing is, though, most of the time in life, we never do get complete clarity. We often never do get complete clarity about something. We have to learn, as we want to be, personal development people, as we want to be self-led people, as we want to be alcohol-free people and leaders, we need to learn how to trust our guts. We need to learn how to trust our hearts. We need to know when something is a hell yes to us. And there's so many cool tools that you could use and do for that. So for example, some people are so into human design, and it's something I definitely dabble in myself too, because depending on what your human design is going to depend how you respond to things and how you make best decisions. So I recognize that as a generator myself, and if you have no idea what your human design is, like, pause this podcast, get a chart done for yourself. It's free, so you know what type you are. But I am a generator. And I'm a sacral generator myself too. And so what that means is that as I'm called to make a decision, it's not really ideal for me to go searching for like 5 options myself and then try to weigh those random 5 options. You know what I mean? Like let's say, just a random example. If I'm going to buy a house, I am not going to go look out like all the possible houses that I could buy in the market and try to pick which the best one is. Like, that seems super tiring for me, super draining, and it's probably gonna be kind of like a weird forced decision. Now, what I am as a generator is I respond to things. So when something is presented to me as an opportunity, that's when I get really lit up about it, right? So it comes into my consciousness field. I don't go searching out for it. It comes to me somehow, and then I respond to it. And I just get this gut yes feeling, or this like, nah, that's not for me feeling. And from that alone, I'm so much better at making decisions. So let's say for this house example, and I'm going to tell you, because this is like coming up for me. I have no idea about how to buy international property. It's something I'd love to do one day. I don't know if that's anytime soon or not, but I have no idea what goes into that. Like buying an international house, that's like a whole new ball game for me, right? But it's something that seems super desirable, right? Like I'm sure we've all dreamed of having a second house somewhere beautiful in some beautiful tropical destination. And I've always, me and my husband, we travel a lot. So a lot of times we'll travel somewhere and just for fun, just for kind of shits and giggle, we'll kind of look up like the housing like market there, and we'll just like look up houses and dream and stuff like that. And there's always been places that we've been feeling called to, but we're so loved with travel. We love different destinations that everywhere kind of looks good. Everywhere kind of is like, yeah, I could have a house here and a house here if we're dreaming. You know what I mean? Like I could do that. But then what happened was I saw this opportunity for like this new development in Bali. And all of a sudden it was something that just came to me, not the other way around where I went out searching for it. It came to me like almost like in my lap. And then I just kept seeing it and seeing it. And my desire just kept growing for it and growing for it. And I was like, I get it now. I understand now how I work as a generator in my human design. This is an opportunity I'm meant to respond to because it's either a hell yes or a no, not the other way around where like I have to go sift through a million options and try to make a decision by comparing and doing that kind of analysis. Now that's me because I am a generator. I'm also a sacral generator, which means I make gut instinct decisions. And I think that that's been so nice to finally lean into and trust that if something feels good for me, a decision, it means that it is a hell yes. It means that my intuition and my body is already 100% behind it. So even though there's some big moves that can feel scary to make, like, ooh, am I really ready to buy those plane tickets? Am I really ready to book that retreat? Am I really ready to sign up for that certification program? Am I really ready to sign up with this mentor? Am I really ready to join this business program? Am I really ready to launch my business? All of these questions can always come up forever, and we can hem and haw and just like not really go for it and make up excuses about why this is not the right time. And sometimes when we do that, that's what actually feels worse than just telling ourselves no. Because when you tell yourself no, you like take it off of the mind, you take it off of the decision platter, say you will, and you kind of remove the possibility. But when we say later, I'll do this later, it keeps it around, right? It's in our mind still, but we're not actually taking action on it, right? We've kind of compartmentalized it to a distant future, where maybe in the future I'll make a decision about it. And so it's almost like an open to-do list. It's almost as if you have the internet browser and all these open tabs open because you have all this interest in things, but you never actually said yes and you never said no, and so you just kept it open. Draining, right? Like I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. How much better does it just feel to make a decision? How much better does it feel to just trust your intuition and say yes? That's what defines Big Moves Era. So I felt so incredible. I think it was in the span of 2 days that I made all these decisions. I just went for things. I just committed to things. I bought the things. I felt so elated. And it was almost like I was going through this like slump of just feeling drained, feeling like a little stuck, feeling like I'm not sure what I'm doing, to immediately feeling like I'm on top of the world. And it's interesting that that does that. So as I talk about this Big Moves Era, I'm curious, where in your life could you use some quicker decisions? Where in your life could you say yes to your heart and just go for it without over analyzing everything? Where in your heart do you maybe need to close a few tabs and get those off of your plate so you can just not have that open tab thing in your mind? Where in your heart do you need to make a commitment or put some money down or invest in yourself or buy the plane tickets or buy the retreat? Where is that happening for you in your life? Where is it happening in your alcohol-free relationship? Maybe if you're in the sober curious phase and you feel really good without alcohol, but you've never done it for longer than 30-day period, where do you also need to make a big move and say, you know what? I'm going to try to be alcohol-free for 6 months. I'm going to try to be alcohol-free for a year. You know what I mean? That's a big move. That is a big, beautiful move when you really declare yourself and you really make a decision. And what's really cool is there's this concept of self-trust that I talk about in my book, Euphoric, Ditch Alcohol and Get a Happier, More Confident You, where sometimes alcohol erodes our ability to trust ourselves. Because let's say you're trying to be healthy, you're trying to be moderate, you're telling yourself, I'm only gonna have a drink tonight, or I'm not even gonna drink tonight. And what happens, right? Like, we know the story back in those days, if that's what, was your past, and if you're living it today, you know what I'm talking about, right? And it's that self-trust that gets eroded because you told yourself you're gonna do one thing, but you do the opposite. And that's what happens in our lives in a lot of different areas. We tell ourselves we're gonna focus and commit to something, but we don't, and so we erode our self-trust. We tell ourselves we want this above all other things in life. We tell ourselves this is the number one thing I want in life, but then we never devote time or energy or money to it. We tell ourselves that this is the future reality we want, but then we don't actually embody it and embrace it and take the kind of moves that actually would lead to that future reality. It's really painful, and it's also how a lot of people operate their lives, and I know I used to operate my life a lot from this energy, a lot of this waiting game. I mean, I had wanted to be an author and entrepreneur for a long time. I never made any moves. Right? I was always in that waiting period, just waiting. So, where can you take this in your life and apply it right now? I'm sure there's actually one really quick decision that you can make that you know you've been putting off, that you know it's time to just make that decision and make your big move. Maybe it's time to move jobs. Maybe it's time to end a relationship. Maybe it's time to buy the plane tickets. Maybe it's time to start your business. Maybe it's time to go alcohol free. Maybe it's time to take the next big, beautiful investment of your business and go for the next big, beautiful business opportunity. I don't know what it is for you, but I'm sure your intuition does. And do me a favor and look up your human design so you can learn how you best respond to different situations about making a yes or no decision on, so that you get that point of clarity of knowing, okay, this is how I best react to the world, right? Because it can often be really hard sometimes making decisions about things, because it's in our modern life, it's not like one thing, it's a million things. And maybe we're also overwhelmed and tired because our brain never really gets to turn off because we're always juggling so much of these things. So I inspire you to jump into your big moves era. That's what we're going to term it. We're going to put it all over the internet. What is your big move that you're going to make? Are you going to make a series of big moves? Are you going to really claim this era in your life? I love the timing of this episode too, because we're right in the smack middle of like Q4 at the end of the year. It's just about going to be holiday season, and we all know what happens in the holiday season. A lot of our goals go sideways, and there's just a lot of overindulgence and a lot of, crazy socializing and family time, and just things feel a little out of our control. And it doesn't feel like until, the first or second week of January we can finally see straight and finally get back to like what we really want and our goals and our intentions. And so to have the level of clarity now to claim this is my big moves era, I'm going to go for the things I want. I'm going to take action. I'm going to make some decisions. It's going to be so helpful for you now before the holiday season versus getting swept up into the inertia of all of that and, already having the open tabs now, feeling like you have nowhere to go because it's just too much is going on. Where do you need to make your next big move and your next big beautiful decision on? I promise it actually feels so much better to be on the other side of a big decision than before it. Listen to your heart, listen to your intuition. It's not going to lead you astray. And if you need to, tap into any other kind of intuitive or spiritual tool to do so, there's some incredible things out there that you can look up on the internet. You can even ask for signs, I mean, if you're the type of person who is into that, whether it's a special number or a special color or a special even animal, you can even ask the universe to show you that sign if you're meant to say yes or if you're meant to say no. And that can really be a beautiful guidance for you instead of feeling that we're always alone and carrying all these heavy decisions all by ourselves. So let's just imagine it's 5 years into the future and you are living your best life. You are the most successful version of you. You've never been making more money than you have at this point. You're doing what you love. So it's not just about the money, like you are actually super successful at your passion. You're like living your dream life. You're traveling when you want. I mean, you get to make up your dream life, but I know you guys love to travel, so you're traveling, spend time with family, like you're really enjoying life. Maybe you're speaking on stages, maybe you're hosting a top-ranked podcast, maybe you are writing or already have your best-selling book out there. Seriously, 5-year vision, make it as big as possible, really truly see yourself in what you can create in 5 years. Now, this is going to be inevitable for you if you do this thing. If you start making decisions today, that future you is already done and cleared, already handled, right? How do you make decisions today from that persona of the 5-year super successful, super fulfilled, super powerful, super passionate version of you? Start acting like her today. Now, I know this advice is given a lot in the personal development field, and sometimes it's like, yeah, but I'm not that person, and I don't have those options or those abilities yet, so it can get kind of confusing, right? Like, am I just supposed to, like, buy everything in the whole universe? Like, no, obviously not, right? But it's that level of risk, that it's that level of putting yourself out there, it's that level of facing some of your fears, it's that level of really going after the things that you want that is going to help you arrive there. And there's so many different ways that we can do this in this last quarter of the year. And I know that your heart is already giving you some fodder. Hopefully I gave you some good examples of buying my plane tickets, getting my retreat, getting into a business mastermind, getting my business mentor, really making big goals for 2025 that I'm already on track to hit because of the decisions that I made today. And also living this big, beautiful life out of the fear of, oh my gosh, what if I spend too much? Or what if I overcommit myself? Or what if, I'm just trusting my intuition as it comes to me. And I'm allowing myself to say yes. Because I know that waiting or keeping the decision open is just going to be way more painful for me over the long run. I hope this episode was helpful, and you let me know on Instagram, send me a DM at euphoric.af what big move you're going to make, what big decision you're going to make, and how you're going to trust your intuition on it.